Hi, I'm Judy Eman, Vice President of your Board of Directors and Chair of this committee. We did a presentation of this project at the board workshop on March 23rd, 2021. These slides represent that presentation and are being posted to ensure good communication to our members. The project was identified after data was collected from almost 300 members of the community, the Spring Run administration and staff, regional club data, and the input of local realtors. Included in the project is a modernization of the front entry to our club that continues the style and the look from our new gatehouse. The plan specifically addresses the areas that you see here. We feel that there is strong support in the community for outside dining, and COVID-19 has made this issue even more timely. The freestanding pavilion near the pool will provide members with a relaxed environment to enjoy friends, food, and beverages. By opening up this area, this outside bar and the table seating that is included will be easily accessible to bocce, tennis, those at the pool, and golfers. This season, our food and beverage staff has given members a taste of what it'll be like to enjoy dining and socializing out by the pool. This renovation will greatly enhance that experience. Lastly, there's been the issue of the club having difficulty seating large parties. Instead of moving walls, this plan calls for stackable doors to the outside, so the inside area can be enlarged when needed with patio seating. But most times, the patio will be an attractive place to enjoy outside dining. Retractable shades will allow us to enjoy this area without the sun glaring down on us. This was the task that our committee was charged with. As chair, I've been working with these committee members as well as our club staff. I want to thank them all for their input and hard work. The committee has spent a lot of time and effort to address so many details that we think will make this plan right for Spring Run. We have had the guidance of many professionals in this project, as you see listed here. Our presentation now will continue with our lead architect, Ryan Richards. Following Ryan will be Jeff Nunner, our owner's representative. He will monitor the work and costs of this project if it's approved. He'll report today on the projected cost and timeline for the work. You'll also hear from Mike Ziegler, our general manager, and Bob Owens, our treasurer. Bob will explain how the project could be financed. Lastly, I will finish the presentation with the timeline we propose to disseminate all this information to owners, get feedback, answer questions, and ask for a vote of support. Here then is Ryan Richards from RG Architects.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that introduction, Judy. I want to start with a real broad overview. So up on the screen now, we have the site plan with an aerial image underneath it. You can see some of the building elements. The easily recognizable parts are the tennis courts off on the right. But more importantly, we have a long, thin clubhouse pinched in between the parking lot, the driving range, and the golf course. So as we look at the environmental factors, here we show the sun path as it rises in the east and sets in the west. And as I'm sure you're all well aware, your dining room faces due west. So right at 5, 6 o'clock dinner time, that sun is really low and coming in almost at eye level. So right off the bat, we know we have to be real careful with the shading and the screening that is proposed to go on in these additions. Moving on to the next slide, we start to look at the circulation patterns as designated here by the arrows. The red one, your front door, is very important kind of entrance, that first impression of the clubhouse itself. And then the orange arrows are representing some of the lower key pedestrian circulation within the site. And then we have the blue arrows kind of signifying what's going on with the golf course, either coming off the ninth green or making the turn over there by the driving range. So with that in mind, I want to go on to this next slide. We'll show a zoomed in portion of that site plan you saw before. This is now the floor plan. We've ripped off the roof. The green areas are showing what we're proposing to remodel and renovate. And the green hatched areas are the new additions. So we have a considerable outdoor dining expansion. There's a pavilion over by the pool, a good-sized kitchen addition, as well as a couple of cabanas right off the pool edge, a new pool restroom building, and relocated equipment up close to the 9th green, and then a community fire pit just to the right of that, when we're also showing the potential expansion for a third bocce court. So when I bring up this next slide, you see a symbol that's kind of diagrammatic in that it represents the dot is where you're standing, and then the pie-shaped piece is how you're looking. So these are little clues of, like, right now you're standing right in front of the clubhouse, covered entry, looking back towards the front door. And this plan and this symbol will kind of follow the presentation throughout. So if you ever kind of get lost on where we are, look down in the bottom right corner, you'll see something like this that'll denote where you're standing and where you're looking. So as we start looking at the front entry of how the clubhouse is going to appear to those walking up to it, we took some of the elements that you see established in the gatehouse renovation, some of the same stones, some of the same features, colors, kind of bring them in and make them uniform and part of the campus, so to speak. So up on the top left, we got some existing conditions photographs, and you can see we're really trying to pull out about a half dozen columns and open the sight lines and make it more inviting so that you can let light into the lobby as well as have clear access to where the front door is, make it open and inviting. So as we go into the lobby, we're now looking from the front doors through the bar area. And then, again, you look at the existing conditions up top, you can see that we've basically blown out the fireplace. We want to bring the eye straight through the entire space and make it open, inviting, and welcoming. So the entries on the left and the right, much the same as they are now. They may be trimmed out a little bit. We've done some detail work, got rid of the chair rail, and brought in some water features to kind of have that calming noise reduction element as you pass through the lobby and into the bar and grill area. Our next shot is going to be from that glass wall that you see all the way towards the back and looking back towards the front door. So as we go into the bar and grill area, you can see now back towards the right is some of those front windows. You can see right back into the lobby. And this is just kind of a concept design of what that bar layout could be and may want to be. We've tried to open up some sight lines, bring in some softer tones and some colors, some televisions, and some odds and ends that can really kind of make the space more inviting. Now, none of this is really set in stone, as we see here in a couple of revised floor plans. The one on the left is what we were just looking at. It goes with the rendering down below. But we're still kind of kicking around ideas. There may be better ways to do it, maybe more attractive, more functional ways to do it. So we're possibly looking at another type of layout like you see over here on the left-hand side. This is really indicating that, there are still some options left available. We've just got our interior designers on board, and we're going to be looking at how to really utilize this space best for the membership. On our next slide, we're stepping outside the grill room, much closer to the cart path out by the drill range, but looking back towards the grill room itself. You can see we brought this arched element that was introduced at the drop-off canopy, but brought it all the way through the space. And again, opening it up, a lot more glass, a lot more daylight, making it an inviting space, but at the same time, grabbing some extra height and making it a taller, more open environment. So next, we're gonna zoom in a little bit on the left. You see an outdoor dining patio, and we'll see how that looks. And we're bringing some textures in, some of the elements from the gatehouse, again, shading, some lateral sunshades. So here, as we move into the casual dining space, you can see we're making some ceiling modifications. Again, opening up some good glass and glazing, inviting light into the space. The gentleman on the right-hand side is walking out your existing doors to the pool deck. We'll go take a look at that in a moment. But I wanted to focus on, opening up that exterior wall, turning the dining room into an indoor-outdoor space. And then there's another version here with those doors closed and how that would work. So as we follow this gentleman on the right out to the pool pavilion, this is what he's going to be met with. And if you look at some of the existing picture up on the top left, right now it's there's a solid fence, there's thick vegetation. We wanted to really open up those sight lines and see all the way through the site. So you can kind of see the pool beyond towards the right. To the right of the pool is that kitchen addition we had mentioned earlier. We have a little bit of a cabana element, and then it opens up straight to the bocce courts. New pool the pavilion bar over to the left, some casual seating, fire pits, kind of melding those two spaces together. And then as we look a little closer and deeper into the pavilion itself, some ideas of how that bar could work. There's a little bit of a different scheme here. TVs front and back, depending on where you want to sit and what you'll be able to see. And these are conceptual, but we're kind of honing in now on exactly how these spaces will work. We've got the kitchen equipment consultant on board. We're going to start laying out all of the equipment required behind bar and work with the food and beverage team to make it as functional and efficient as possible. So our next slide now, we're a little bit of a bird's eye view up above the pool, looking back towards the pavilion bar and the kitchen addition, but also you pick up the two little cabanas down on the bottom and the new pool building, which has a little bit of a shaded area out front, which could, substitute for, a band area or any type of event that might need to be protected and covered. We tried to soften up the backside of that kitchen addition with some water elements, maybe a little bit of like a lazy river type of feel where there's some grass involved, but bringing some of the calming water noise into that environment to kind of separate it from the bar and grill area. So as we go down into the cabanas here, you see on this slide, we've got some existing conditions. The existing bathroom is nicely on axis with the pool, which may or may not make some sense. But in this particular instance, we wanted to bring some shade right up to the pool edge. Again, more comfortable lounge type furniture. We've used the difference in heights between the pavilion and the new pool building to kind of create that gradual step up, more of a personal scale. So just some thoughts on how that could look and how that would interact with the pool deck. So zooming in a little bit down towards that kitchen addition, some thoughts on how that edge could be treated. We have a vertical chairlift right by the water feature there on the left. That'll be replacing that long run of ramp that is taking up a large amount of space right now. So we kind of compacted that into a single element and then grabbed some of that outdoor space and repurposed it into a seating environment and somewhere you may want to be. We've added also a water feature to the pool itself. You can see that off to the right-hand side. And again, it's trying to, just soften the ambiance and the noise levels of the patio area. Our next slide was zoomed back up again, looking up from a bird's eye perspective above the fire cabana. We started to create like a communal fire pit. Now this one is intended to be big. It could be where you meet friends and neighbors. Could be a s'more station at certain times of the year. This is kind of the communal fire pit as opposed to the personal level ones that we saw before. We see a third bocce court has been added and those canopies have been replaced. And then we kind of drop down to eye level on this slide, looking back at the tennis courts and the bocce courts, but give you a feel for the environment associated with that fire pit. Now I want to turn it over to Mike to talk about a little bit about the food and beverage aspect of it. We have to remember why we're doing this, how are we going to service the membership, and branding and menu is absolutely essential to a project like this and making it successful.
Outdoor dining is the focus of this project, and it deserves the primary attention. However, we want to create additional branded destinations of all of our dining facilities at the club, so let's also shine a light on a restaurant concept as well as the bar and casual dining spaces. Each will have a theme or a vibe, so that when you come down to the club, you come for a specific experience. The outdoor dining facility, temporarily named the Island Bistro, will feature Florida bar casual, seafood, pizzas, overstuffed sandwiches, and tropical frozen concoctions. The current club room will be transformed into the Three Oaks Social Club, featuring high-quality fresh-caught seafoods and prime and dry-aged steaks. This restaurant concept will be open on Friday and Saturday nights. A new bar will have a glass window wall looking over the golf course as a backdrop and will double the capacity of our current bar. It will feature artisan cocktails, craft beers, and a small bites menu. And an indoor-outdoor dining casual space, to be named, will be serving traditional pub fare. That room is where the current dining room is. All of these spaces will be designed lightly to their branding, but will be versatile enough to be able to be used for all of our traditional events like game night and our club functions. Instead of just going to the club for lunch, members will now be able to choose an experience.
Thanks, Mike. I have prepared a project milestone schedule that begins in June. We have accounted for approximately 4 months of design time in order to submit for site permits and for building permits. During this time, we will be coordinating final design documents with the design team consisting of our architect, engineers, interior designer, and kitchen consultant. We will use these documents, once permits are submitted, to send to 4 general contractors for bidding. Once bids are received and reviewed, we will negotiate a construction agreement to begin work in April of 2022. We have estimated approximately 9 months of construction with completion in early 2023. Our project budget has been prepared based on input from our design professional team as well as 2 local general contractors. Our budget consists of 5 major sections. Section 1 is construction. We requested pricing from 2 local general contractors based on the current design development architectural documents. These plans provided for architectural design with limited civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering. Each general contractor provided estimates within 10% of each other. These estimates include a 5% cost increase to account for work to be completed in 2022. Section 2 is design, permitting, and insurance and is estimated at approximately 10% of project cost. Section 3 is furnishings, fixtures, and accessories. These are the items specified and provided by our interior designer, Wegman Design. Section 4 is owner equipment and includes kitchen equipment, security, information technology, and AV equipment. Section 5 is project contingency and is estimated at 10% of construction costs. This amount is to account for unforeseen conditions, cost increases beyond estimate, and limited scope changes.
I'm Bob Owens, Spring Run Treasurer, and I'm going to talk about how we expect to pay for the $6 to $6.5 million outside dining project. Once we received those numbers in the last week or so, Michelle Temple, Spring Run Controller, and I plugged the numbers into our long-term forecasting model and came up with the projections you see on this slide. To pay for the project initially, we have some internal funds we can use, but we also expect to borrow up to $5 million under a line of credit and pay that back, principal and interest, over about a 10-year period. And that's also in the forecast. To pay for the borrowing, we expect to include a $700 to $759 capital improvement fee over that same 10-year period, so a nice matching there. You see on the slide the last 2 years actual and then the projection for the next 5 years. That gets in year 3 to about a little over 3% projected increase, and it stays that way in our projection for several years afterwards. So that's all seems to be very affordable relative to, the fee increases of the past. The next slide shows the 10-year average, both history and the projected next 10 years. And you can see that, we paid for a lot of capital projects in the last 10 years, including a clubhouse renovation, golf course renovation and redoing, if you will, the maintenance facility, entranceway. A lot of projects were built into that the fee increases over the last 10 years. In the next 10 years, we're going to have this outside dining project to pay for, as well as golf course renovation and other projects from time to time, and we want to build our replacement reserve. All that considered, we expect total annual projected fee increases to be in the neighborhood of 3.1 to 3.3% on average over the next 10 years.
Here is our timeline to distribute as much information as possible about the project to you, our owners. After that, in May, we plan to have a vote to seek your approval for the project. Thank you very much for your time and interest.